Gentlemen, the time is 1 minute past 7. I think we can allow, sorry, 1 minute. Okay, it's 2024. I've got that much. I'll start with the easy bit. Okay, I apologise. 1 minute late starting this meeting, which considering the weather is actually really good. Thank you everybody for being here. We will get the meeting started immediately. My glasses on. Okay, the standard thing here is, I believe, that we talk about the emergency exits. I've not been told of any planned emergencies, emergency testing. So if there is a fire, you go out the fire exit and out the building by the standard routes. Okay. If we move on to the agenda, we have apologies and changes in membership, which we don't have. No changes, I believe. Right. And then we have apologies from both Councillor Lever and Councillor Beston. We are currently quorate, and I thank the fellow councillors for being able to get here, especially given the weather and road conditions which so many people outside are facing. We move on to the minutes.
Just for the record, I have to leave about 6:10 at the latest in letting house.
Thank you for that, Councillor Love. I've recognised that, and I appreciate the time that you've got, and we will use it best we all can. And then if we move on to the minutes, has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? Okay, I would add one minor change which you may not have picked up, Councillor Love. We've recognised that there were no apologies previously. However, there was a discussion about that meeting because it was introduced into the agenda of the Isle of Wight. And during that meeting, you did specifically state that you were unable to make it on the 12th of December. I think it's only fair that that should be recorded as a form for not being here. Other than that, do we agree with minutes? Yes. Okay, thank you for that. Right, I just have to sign these. Okay. Right, and do we have any declarations of interest? Councillor Love?
I just have to declare that one of the items for tourism that I'm a bed and breakfast.
Thank you for that, Councillor Love. No other declarations of interest? Excellent. No public questions at this time. I will add, obviously, that the public, they are aware of this meeting and they listen and they look at it. They are always welcome to contact us as councillors at any time, especially with regard to any matters before the committee or matters which they might consider should be. Okay, then we move on to item 5, which is outcomes and recommendations from the previous meeting. The major outstanding thing is that the visit to the waste plant has yet to be arranged. I would ask the appropriate cabinet member to confirm that that will be arranged as soon as possible. Oh, okay. Okay, if I pass over to the director, Roland.
Yes, sorry. Yes, that request has come through. Then I'll chase that one up. Sure that's something that's been arranged.
Appropriate. Thank you very much. Then we move on to the dips, which we did discuss The council on its forward plan obviously have changed due to changes in statutory legislation, statutory instrument, should I say, not legislation. And that is not going to be appearing before the full council on the 17th of January. However, I'd just like to confirm with the cabinet member who, a few seconds to breathe, confirm that they have received our recommendations and that they will consider them appropriately.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yes, I think that the thing that we were waiting for was the NPPF from government. And as is often the case, once we start working on the cabinet paper, the guidelines comes in. And again, there is a mention within the NPPF that actually says that islands that aren't linked to a mainland with a road bridge and has a large demographic of elderly residents may be able to apply for exceptional circumstances. So in a way, that is quite positive. However, that said, we need to look at the demographics of the island. So we are talking to consultants about the demographics and whether that will affect the numbers that we have for housing for the island. So again, this is one of the investigations that we've currently got with GL Hearn. We think that that work will probably take about 6 weeks. But I think it's important that we let everybody know what the feedback from that information is. So it's very much watch this space. But I think it would have been a bit foolhardy to look at this paper, to consider the paper at cabinet and then full council with those questions that I think we all have as members needing to be answered. So I think cautiously we have decided to delay the dips for a few weeks to get the information that I think all members deserve to know. We've looked at this for many years, and here we are at the 11th hour, and things have perhaps changed. But again, we need to look at that, have that investigation, and answer a lot of the questions that members across the chamber have about exceptional circumstances. It is important, but it's still my intention to try to get the paper considered as soon as possible, because it is a huge milestone that's just getting heavier, which is weighing me down very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I appreciate your. Sorry, didn't want to say too much there to deafen everybody. I understand that you have something you should say, Councillor Ward, please. Then I apologise, Councillor Love. I do apologise.
No problem. No problem. Not worried about it. Timelines. Can you just give us some indication about timelines? I know you say a couple of weeks, but when do we think we can expect it to come to full council? Just roughly. I know it's difficult, but
and again, a lot depends on. It's like how long is a piece of string, really. It depends what comes back from the consultants. I think we're not really going to see, even if we ask for an extraordinary meeting, I can't see a decision being made at the very earliest until March. But again, that is what we're looking at. We know that the consultants will be looking at that for 6 weeks. We want to share that information with members, and by the time we assess what is said, and I know that there will be some members of this council that will want to go through the response with a fine-tooth comb as well. So again, I think it's only right and proper that we allow that to happen. So yeah, at the very, very earliest, I would say March. Would you agree with that, Phil? I think we've discussed this, and I think that is probably the very earliest that information will be available for us. So yes. So we know it's going to be 6 weeks, and March is probably just beyond that.
Chair, I just add, I agree with Councillor Fuller. It's going to be a minimum of March before it comes. I would add that it is my understanding that if we decide to adopt exceptional circumstance route, that could not run in parallel with the existing draft plan. In other words, if we accept that the Isle of Wight has could create a island plan based on exceptional circumstances and not using the standard method, which is what we've been using, that couldn't be added to or run with the existing plan. And my understanding is that the plan would have to start from scratch again. So that's why I was cautious about saying when it comes to full council, if that, and full council would have to make that decision, I assume, or it would become a recommendation from Cabinet that exceptional circumstances could be considered. We could be looking at a much longer period. I think I'm right in saying that.
Councillor, sorry, can I just add to that from our previous meeting on the Draft Island Plan strategy, which I was very grateful for all of the work done by the councillors on the committee and other councillors who turned up. It was made very clear that by the then officers, still officers, by the officers that the two processes were entirely separated out. So basically, we would have to, what we took away from that, my understanding certainly was that if we did not go ahead with the current DIPs as altered accordingly, then special circumstances, exceptional circumstances would be an entirely new and separate process. And to the question is, Councillor Jordan, that suggests that you are looking at a period of a year to 2 years ahead. Would that be accurate?
I think one of the things to bear in mind is when we have our planning consultants looking at the exceptional circumstances argument, they possibly could come back and say, well, we are already, you know, the council were already suppressing that number, and we feel that that number is low enough anyway to reflect what may come about in exceptional circumstances. So the special circumstances that we're using, and the DIPs are using special circumstances in that we're an island, we are only building between 300 and 400 homes a year, is in line with the 453 number that that is being recommended within the DIP. So again, it's juggling all of these things, looking at it and making a judgment based upon those figures. When I say 300 to 400, I think it's probably from 400 to 500 for the last few years. So again, at 453, the number is about the same as we're delivering at the moment.
I think that's probably about as accurate as we can manage at the moment. However, Councillor Quirk wanted to ask a quick question as well, and then Councillor Ward.
The issue is not reducing the number to exceptional circumstances, it's building the right sorts of homes. The problem is that we're building homes for people to retire to. And what we need is affordable homes for islanders. And exceptional circumstances doesn't actually change that equation. It just means that it's easier to tick the box to say that you've built enough houses. But you know, it's good to have a lower number because it's easier to exceed the number, but actually that shouldn't be the driver. Our driver as an island should be building the right sort of homes.
Chairman, I think what Councillor Quirk is right. We have to build the right houses in the right places for the right people. There are policies within the DIPs as we currently see it, which looks at local connection criteria, which does exactly what you're saying. We've also looked at affordable housing, and we're making it easier for developers to look at affordable housing. And who knows, we also have another elephant in the room. In the 12 months' time, we may have a different government in place that may have a different idea on housing. At the moment, we just don't know where that's going from. But I think, you know, certainly hearing what I'm hearing from other political parties is that affordable housing is high on everybody's agenda. So I think we're going the right way with what we've got in the DIPs in trying to push the affordable market for local islanders. And that, I think, Councillor Quirk, is a response to the comments you make. So you're spot on.
Thank you, Councillor, for that. And Councillor Ward? Chairman?
Paul,
Thank you for letting us know so quickly about the changes in exceptional circumstances. I was really impressed when I read that, and I thought, oh, that's good. When I read reports of the report, I got the impression, put exceptional circumstances to one side, but the guidance was going to allow local authorities to have more influence on what their housing numbers were. Did you pick up the same sort of vibe?
It's so difficult, Ian.
Yeah.
You know, we could be 6 months away from an election and, you know, the NPPF that we've seen
Yeah.
could be torn up
Yeah.
tomorrow. So yes, that is really, really positive. But again, there needs to be an assessment on that comment within the NPPF for us to digest. I'm glad that you're looking at things in a broader way. Certainly some of the councillors that have approached me are looking at the numbers, and I think numbers is important. And Councillor Jordan will clarify that the numbers that we develop in the next few years, because again, if we set our targets too hard within the standard methodology, then we're setting ourselves up to fail, which is never a good thing. So again, we have to look at the new NPPF, and we have to think, well, how is that going to support our island, and work with it. And you know, talking to the MP, I think the MP has pushed this quite well. So again, it's good to see that footnote in there. But let's see how effective that could be for us, because the special circumstances may be doing precisely the same thing. And if that is the case, then at least then it gives us a, you know, if we do agree to the dips and we give that to the inspector, at least it gives our local planning authority and councillors the teeth that they need to be able to make sure that the planning applications that they see in the next few years actually the houses are sustainable and good for island people. Because at the moment, looking at policies that were worked on in the early 2010s, they're out of date, and that is really, really disappointing for our know members of the planning committee that would like to be able to have sharper teeth to be able to fight contentious applications.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, councillors, and thank you for that, Councillor Fuller and Councillor Jordan. Right, if we move on from the discussion of the dips, can we move on to item? Sorry.
One comment. I would encourage Cabinet to consider the approval of the plan and then going for a new plan for exceptional circumstances, rather than, because you know, you're delaying it for a couple of years, and there's good stuff in the plan, the dips as it stands, and the change for the rules mean that you can now actually go back in a much shorter timescale to reassess it. So you know, that's something that you should be mindful of in your discussions about this.
I totally agree with you, Councillor Quirk. I think that we need to be able to do that. You as Vice Chairman of the Planning Committee knows how frustrating some of the applications we've had in the last few years. So I totally understand where you're coming from, and I support that.
May I just add one thing? We did actually try to get this through, and now I'm a bit puzzled because you're saying we should have approved it in the first place, which is what we should have done.
It was ready. It was ready to be approved, and it was absolutely perfect 2.5 years ago.
Gentlemen,
Gentlemen,
we're dancing around the pin at the moment, and the pin has just exploded the balloon.
We should have here.
So, given the very limited time, please can we move on? Okay, if we can move on to the first item to be properly discussed today, which is the visitor economy. I'd like to welcome Will Miles here, who will provide us a short presentation and give us a short period of time to perhaps ask a couple of additional questions. Will, over to you, please.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for inviting and being able to share what Visit Isle of Wight are doing on behalf of the island. As you're no doubt aware, at a previous meeting of the Economic Development Board, the visitor economy was identified as being over 30% of the island's economy, which is a huge number, and is the major core of what this island is all about, primarily a tourism-based island. As part of that, we went through a process with Visit England and the Department for Culture, Media and Sport, and we've achieved what's called an LVIP status, which is a local visitor economy partnership, which was as a result of a national review of destination management organisations across England. That review was carried out by Nick Dubois, who was then the chair of Visit England. To achieve this element is quite a feat, as there's over 200 DMOs in England, and it was all about pulling together regional, geographic and identifiable destinations. The Isle of Wight was successful in that round of achieving that status, and we are now one of only 26 visitor economy partnerships, local visitor economy partnerships in England. We sit alongside partnerships such as West Yorkshire, Marketing Manchester, Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly and London. So we sit in, so the whole of London is a local visitor economy partnership, as are we. So it's a huge element, and we bring down various different directorates or directives which are coming from national government through Visit England, which come around sustainability, the skills agenda, accessibility and growth. There's a rather long piece of partnership programme material. If you want to read that through, it tells you exactly what's going on with local visitor economy partnerships. What it does is it allows the Isle of Wight and Visit Isle of Wight to sit at that national table, alongside these other organisations, and to assist and shape national policy, which comes down into that regional and local policy around the visitor economy partnership, around the visitor economy, which is very, very important. Looking at that and taking that forward, if I can move on slightly to the visitor numbers and value of tourism on the island. This is carried out, and we have this piece of research which is carried out annually, but it's carried out all the time. So it breaks down into 4 quarters, 4 3-month quarters each year, and is a direct result of 15,000 face-to-face interviews that actually take place across the travel network coming to and from the island. And that's done by our research partner, which is Tourism Southeast. Arguably one of the most robust pieces of visitor research in the UK, and has recently been reviewed by a senior professor at Bournemouth University who concurs with that finding. Looking at comparable figures is quite tricky, as COVID has certainly messed up the comparable periods of time, with there's been various peaks and troughs around there. So the best way to look at it is actually to compare it against the last full year of data that we have, which is 2019, and that's the pre-COVID period. If I look at a top level element of this, visitor numbers to the island for the rolling period, which is from the 1st of October through till the 30th of September this year. So 1st of October 2022 through to the 31st of October 2023, the visitor numbers onto the island were 1,961,348. Quite specific. 1,961,348. That's of people that the research model and the extrapolated research model actually identifies for us. In relation to that, in 2019, it was 2.1 million. So there's a differential of around about 200,000 visitors between 2019, which was the last full year, and this period. What I'd like to say is most locations, most destinations within the UK are still within that recovery and have not reached that pre-COVID number or there again, or easily getting there. Flipping that on its head, so that actually refers and relates to a 9% decrease with that period between 2019 and now, and the rolling period. Flip that onto its head and look at the number of the spend that comes onto the island, which is actually calculated as well. In 2019, the actual spend and running total for that same period was 275.8 million. And up until the period of the 31st of October this year, sorry, the 30th of September this year, the actual amount that was spent in that rolling 12-month period was 279.6 million. So that's actually an increase of 3.8 million. So conversely, less visitors, more spend, which was a strange part of it all. So that's a difference of an increase of 1.3 millions on that previous year. How does that compare with our friends around the country? Prior to coming today, I've obviously done some research with certainly 3 specific destinations who we see as competitors and various different locations. I'm not going to name them because that would be unfair, because it's to do that. But let's say they are quite major coastal locations and major tourism and visitor economy parts of that. If I was to say that certainly one is actually showing 2023 is going to show is going to finish down by 15 to 20% in numbers and 10 to 15% in revenue. Another one is talking about numbers being very close to 2019. That's an east of England location, close to that, but overall spend is down. And one of the major ones is showing certainly that to the actual visitors arriving during that period between 5 and 10% down. If I was to allude to the fact that that's perhaps off to the west, you might get an idea as to where I'm alluding that is. So they're showing numbers and revenue down over that period of time. So whilst we shouldn't be putting the bunting out in relation to visitors coming back to the island, we're working very hard to get there. We are sitting alongside our competitive set and doing okay. Do we want to get back? Do we want to get back to the 2019 numbers? Yes, we do. And do we want to increase that? Yes, we do. And that's what our task is, to do that. So how do we actually do that? And looking at the sort of elements of it all, we do that through a number of marketing and promotional activities. Social media, print advertising, digital advertising, our website, various exhibitions, sustainable travel and sustainability, through our walking festivals, through press and media, and through event support. And if I was just to take you through a few of these, our various different platforms on social media have reached a number of people. Facebook had 669 posts last year, and that had a total reach of 31.6 million views on there. These are quite large numbers, but equally it's the engagement element that we should be looking at around there. And the post engagements in the Facebook were 532,000 engagements with that, which is a high number and a very, very positive number. Instagram, 415 posts, which had a total reach of 15.6 million, but the post engagements were 240,000 plus within there. Twitter X has a different way that we deal with things. They had 321 posts, and that was impressions of around about 1.6 million, and that had 68,000 engagement elements of that. All in all, our social media is doing well and is bringing lots of elements to our website so that people can see and can actually identify where they want to go. Online marketing, print advertising is targeting the various different elements we want to be. So looking at the primary times, which is preschool and younger generation families, Hampshire, Dorset and Sussex Life, Wanderlust, Tiny Travel Ship, all these different things which have major elements of that, which we've taken advertising in, which have been really positive. And prior to around about Christmas time last year, we did a mail drop to targeted areas to 120,962 households throughout the UK in a targeted area, sort of south of Birmingham and down within that 2 to 2.5 to 3 hour travel time, certainly into London also with there. One of the major elements that we look at nowadays is using a platform called Sky AdSmart. And Sky AdSmart is TV advertising, and it's programmatic advertising, and it targets the people who live in specific houses. So I'm not going to say Big Brother is watching, but equally, if we all lived in a block of flats and we all had an individual thing, we're all watching the same program at the same time, the ad in the ad break could be different for every single one of us around this table, because that's actually targeting you and targeting looking at that. So we target through these Sky AdSmarts and getting high returns. So that's actually having sort of 200,000 people reach, and the opportunities to view the impressions are nearly 900,000, which is very, very positive. We've run some radio campaigns with Greatest Hits Radio, which is specifically targeted to some of us who like the hits of the 80s and 90s and closer in, who perhaps will be travelling at different times of the year. And as such, these elements are bringing sort of large on-air elements into that south of England, targeting for longer stays, but also targeting for shorter stays as well, and the day visit market. Also the day visit market from home, but also the day visit market from holiday as well, which is very specific for the Isle of Wight. There's not very many places can actually deal with that. We ran an Expedia campaign during the summer, which we promoted across the Expedia platform, targeting for people coming to the island to actually stay in accommodation, and that actually achieved 328 room bookings, which was a gross total gross revenue of £37,000 worth of revenue, which is according to Expedia, which is pretty good. That's bringing a 6.2 return on the specific ad spend that we had. We've changed how we do digital marketing. We used to buy our digital marketing, our digital ad marketing on distressed stock and specific target areas around there. We now look at it with Google ads and targeting through various different other ways. That's only 6 months into the process, so I don't have any comparable elements of that, but it's certainly how would I best describe it, a quality over quantity method for targeting these elements. Visit Isle of Wight website goes from strength to strength, and that's the actual key call to action of anything that we do. And we have over 1.6 million users of the Visit Isle of Wight website, and that showed last year sessions of 2.179 million sessions on there, which the page views were about just over 4.5 million, which is again a very positive. The top 5 pages most popular. The homepage, obviously, things to do, what's on, accommodation and attractions, which is what we'd all expect to see. We're working towards things on the sustainability and travel trade and exhibitions. And Visit Isle of Wight, supported by Isle of Wight Council, achieved a Silver Green Impact Award for our sustainability elements that we do. Hopefully, I'm told that we should be in the ballpark for getting gold this time round, but we've not been inspected yet, so here's everything crossed for that. We've launched a new sustainability travel section on the website, which has 24 interactive walking and cycling routes with detailed maps so that people can actually put their own elements into there, and it's building up that user-generated content that everyone wants to see. We've taken part in 6 consumer shows, consumer exhibitions throughout the UK, things like the outdoor show, cycle show, various different things like that. And that's reaching attendance of these elements of 300,000 people attending there. And we've attended 4 trade shows, and which is bringing 5,000 businesses face to face who were dealing with that. we delivered the Isle of Wight Walking Festival, and we have done since Isle of Wight Council decided that it wasn't going to fund that anymore. And sorry, I didn't mean that to be a dig. It's just we've run that we've run the festival since that period of time, and this year it goes from strength to strength, with 46% of the people who are actually attending the walking festival in May and in October, which are out of season periods of time where we're trying to extend that season, we get more people in. 46% are off island, and it brings in, across the two specific elements of that, almost £500,000 worth of economic impact based on the research that we're dealing with, which is quite a lot of positivity during the shoulder periods. Press and travel media are a major part of what we do, because our interactions with press and travel media mean that we can gain additional coverage without having the various pieces of marketing spend that we would have to do around there. And it's the marker around this is something that's called advertising value equivalent, which is AVE, which we follow through, and we deal with that every period of time, every quarter. The running total for the year for 2023 in relation to the amount of AVE that was achieved for that was £43.48 million worth of advertising spend there. And that's coverage in the Times, the Sun, various different magazines, various different publications across the south of England and nationwide as well, and into continental Europe, and also into the island of Ireland. This is kind of blow your own trumpet time. We've won some awards for the island on behalf of the island this year. Group Leisure Awards 2023 awarded the Isle of Wight the best UK destination for groups. That's very, very positive. We fought off some strong competition from locations such as York and from London, which is very, very positive indeed. The Isle of Wight Walking Festival, as I say, goes from strength to strength, and has already won 3 awards this year for the Isle of Wight Chamber Business Awards as Made on the Isle of Wight for the event of the year, and so it's won there. Red Funnel Awards as being a bronze award for the best island event, and just very, very recently, just before Christmas, it won a gold award at the Tourism South, Beautiful South Awards for 2023 and 2024 for the best event of the year for the south of England, which is praise indeed. So what are we going to go on and do into 2024? Currently, we have a campaign that's running for Book for 2024 and Try More in 2024 at different elements. And we have another TV ad that is running and has been running since Boxing Day. And that Boxing Day element, because that's a key booking period of time for travel around the UK. It's running from Boxing Day through to the end of January, and that is the TV ad. You can see it on our website. It's actually sitting there, and it's challenging perceptions about what the island has to offer. Again, it's making sure that we are getting ourselves out there. So Sky AdSmart, and that's actually targeting into South Wales, so as far across as Swansea, into South London, and that arc which is coming through Bath, Bristol, Reading, and into South London and below. In addition to that, we're trying some new programmatic marketing with a company who deals with something called Skyrise, and that's all based on different elements of telephone data linked with AI. And linked to so therefore we have several different elements of specific ads that actually target you on bus shelters, on the tube, in various different shopping centres, and it targets it based on who you are, which all sounds a little bit scary, all sounds a little bit has nobody seen Terminator scenario, but it's AI who's actually developing this, and the AI is targeting. So we could different elements. We could stand in front of a screen, and it will show on that screen what is relevant to me, or what is relevant to you, or what is relevant to the person that's there. It's all a bit AI and a bit scary, but that's the way of the world, I'm afraid. Our digital and social ads continue to go on, and we're working alongside stuff with various different changes of blogs that people want to see, and also looking into 2024, we have a visitor economy conference, which is taking place at Medina Theatre on the 1st of February. And in there, we'll be looking at various different elements, which includes accessibility. We have some national speakers, and the England director, Andrew Stokes from Visit England, will be there doing a keynote speech as opening the element. We'll look at that locally, how people can get involved, how people can deal with various different parts of the conference. So sustainability, accessibility, and all about the skills agenda that's there. And we have some national and regional speakers for there. At that location, we'll actually be launching our new digital accessibility guide, targeting the Purple Pound and the accessible travel market. That accessible travel market recently was said to be worth £15.5 billion worth of travel in England alone. Oh, sorry, in the UK alone, and we'd certainly like to get some of that here for the island. To support that, we've just recently agreed with a charity here for hidden disabilities called the Sunflower Charity, and we will be delivering sunflower training for businesses across the island so that they can actually look at, they can identify and be ready to deal with people who have that hidden disabilities alongside that. Another project that we're working with is alongside Ryde Town Council in relation to an accessible beach programme, and we're working through that programme, and hopefully we'll have an accessible beach across the in Ryde for the start of that main summer season into 2024, which is very, very positive. So for me, that's a long snapshot of what we're doing. So happy if you want to ask any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them on what I've said, or if there's anything else you want to chat about, then feel free.
Will, that has been a tour de force. And if I ever need anybody to promote the island in any other circumstances, I may call upon you. That was very good. Thank you very much. As a scrutiny committee, we're always looking at trying to actually get underneath the bonnet sometimes. And I'd like to ask councillors here to sort of perhaps ask a few questions, perhaps for yourself and possibly the council as the cabinet members who are here as well. So should we do it in reverse order this time? Councillor Ward, would you like to start?
Thank you, Will. That was a brilliant presentation. And I've got to tell you, I watched a TV advert, and included in the advert was Sandown Bay. And I looked at that and I thought, I'd like to go there. It would, honestly, it was such a good portrayal. I was really impressed. And had I not been, a resident of Sandown, I would have been really impressed with that and thought, I want to go there. So well done in that respect. I think we have different markets, don't we? Sandown's a seaside town. So we have to focus on that element for them, and we've got the walkers and the cyclists as well. But I think they're a different market. Obviously, some crossover. Would you agree with that?
Looking at the island and looking at the USP, looking at the island and the USPs of the island, everyone has their own Isle of Wight. And everything's different for everyone else, and it's very, very difficult to actually just sit there and say we are this, because we are something to everyone in a different way. And I would say that there are different. I would say, however, that people who can. One of the things we're looking at, we're working on a branding project at the moment, and that branding project is talking about walking in the morning and having the beach in the afternoon. So actually looking at how that can have that crossover around it, or cycling, or doing whatever, or an attraction. So it's about ensuring that we get the right messaging for the right people, and that's a work in progress at the moment.
I think at times we're too critical of ourselves, and we give that impression of negativity, and it's something that we need to address ourselves, really. I mean, islanders should be promoting the island, not moaning about it on social media.
What I would say, Councillor Ward, is that, you know, we've just done a recent, we're continually having new content because we need to refresh our content. And we've just done some new video and drone and stills content, and that's around active seniors and also around lifestyle couples. And even the floating bridge has featured in that element of that. And there's some elements of the floating bridge that that will because it is unique to us, and people come to the island and they can't believe that they're actually travelling on it. So it's you know, we've got it in there, so it's actually part of what we do. I realise it's not perhaps a topic that that is loving the around here, but it is there. Use what you've got. And also the lifestyle couples were actually filmed on the beach at East Cowes.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Quirk, did you want to add anything?
An observation that you've got different segments of the market, but actually a particular venue, a hotel or whatever, has different sectors of the market during the course of the year. And that's something that people don't always realise, that, you know, the hotel that is a bucket and spade hotel in July and August actually is catering for cyclists and walkers in and then they're doing sort of Christmases and New Year breaks and things, sort of short breaks and weekends. So that individual hotels and individual attractions sort of have different audiences at different times of the year. And if they're successful, they usually understand that. When I was going back quite a few years now, back on when I was on the tourist board, we were always trying to extend the season. We've had a bit of success, but it's still far too many of the smaller hotels sort of closed for the season, and you have to, it's a chicken and egg. If you haven't got things open, how do you get people to be there? What's your, has that got better?
I would say that every destination director across the UK is looking to extend that season, and how they can do that, especially in a coastal and rural destination. I would say it's getting better. That is particularly why we hold the walking festivals when we do, so that we're extending that season, so that we have people who don't want to come when there's families running around and having loads of fun, but actually coming and doing different things. That's why we do that. It's very, very specific as to why we do that. But you're absolutely right, Councillor Quirk. Having the product open and having the product there is that would be utopia. To have all of that there, but again, chicken and egg. Build it, they will come, or they will come and build it, and it goes around in circles like that. It's a very, very difficult approach, but we build on time, and the more we do that, the more success we'll have. And you're absolutely right. Hotels, their markets change throughout the year. If you actually look at our research, 66% of our visitors to the Isle of Wight arrive between April and the end of September. So you're actually, for the other 6 months of the year, dealing with 33% of your visitors. So therefore, we need to increase that, but you have to have the stock.
I think that's something which will go outside this chamber and will be a lot of work for you and a lot of other people. Councillor Love, did you wanted to make a comment?
Sorry, I always feel like I'm being difficult when I'm not. I'm genuinely asking. So first of all, thank you for your presentation. I enjoyed the presentation. I think it tells us a lot about the good things that are happening on the island. Being a scrutiny member, it's my job to try and deal into what we can do better and improve. And that's not a criticism of you. I'm talking about holistically across the whole island, not specifically. That's why. So one of the things I really would like to come out of this is I'd like the statistical data that you've talked to us about today. I'd like that to be in a recordable format every year. Same questions. How many people comes to the island? Exactly based around the data that you've provided us, so that we can then measure that as councillors in a consistent way. That's not a criticism, just saying that if we, I don't know if that format's set up now, but for monitoring and recording purposes over a period of the next 10 years, if we have numbers of visitors, numbers, just more or less as you've sort of said to us, I think that could be a way of helping measure how we're performing against our own markets. I'm not that interested personally in how everybody else is doing, their competitors. I'm really interested in how we're doing. So that would be one of my recommendations. Now, the next question is a difficult one. And
Can I deal with that one first before you go on to the second one?
yeah.
Yeah. That data is readily available. It sits on our industry website, which is visitwhitepro.com.
Yeah.
So you can actually see that, and that actual data has been run along these questionnaires for almost 15 years.
So it needs to be sat within our frameworks, and it needs to be presented here. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
It's not your, but it's not your data.
No.
It's
Well,
it's the island data, and it's
right.
and it's
Okay,
dealt with
so
with
that
that.
raises
So it
a-
lives on Visit White Pro.
Please don't think I'm being critical.
No, no,
What
no.
I'm saying
I'm
is,
just,
if you're,
I'm just telling you where it lives.
but you're saying to me that's not our data. I'm saying we should be running our own data on that. We should be having that data, no matter what, whether if it's ours or not. That's the information that we should be having. So that's one. I'm not particularly interested in debating that long. I'm just saying I think it'd be really good if that information was in front of us, then we can see that on paper. Yeah, to us. Okay.
I'm sure that the links through to that data are readily available.
Well, it might be readily available, but it's not here in front of us, and that's what I'm saying it should be. Okay. So thank you, Chair. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Well, no,
Because
I actually think you should. I think you should. You've raised a point, Councillor Love, and I think that you need to understand that data is created through a research programme that we run, and it sits on visitwhitepro.com, and that data is sitting there. And that data and the research project actually comes from the bid elements that people have, and is funded through that. It's not funded through Isle of Wight Council. It's funded through that bid data, through that bid funding. So therefore, it does live there. It is there, you can have it, but it sits on Visit White Pro because it's the island visitor research that we run.
No problem with that. I'm saying it should be presented here at this meeting so that we can see it on paper. So let's not debate that anymore, because it's not the big point. So you're not going to like this, but would we recover faster if our ferry fares were more fairly priced? Meaning that at the moment, I did some research today around what it would cost in August to come here. £253 for a long weekend here to come across. Let's say another £400 to stop in a hotel makes it 650 plus. So what I'm saying is, would it have an impact if our ferry fares were more in line with those per mile which operate across the channel? Because to me, although we talked about spend going up, I would expect spend to go up because inflation has gone up absolutely hugely. So I would expect the person's spend to go up because it has to go up because of inflation impacts. But what I'm saying is the biggest impact and driver for all our island economy is our ferry companies, for everything. It's not just for tourism, for everything. And I'm saying, would we have more people visiting the island if our ferries were affordable to all in a reasonable way? And I think that's a fair question to ask.
One thing I would say, if I can go back to that data and the figures that I actually gave you in relation to the spend, that actual spend does not include ferry travel. Ferry travel is excluded out of that spend, so please don't think that lives in there and that's up there.
That's not why I'm asking.
Yeah, no, I understand your question. I think your question in relation to what the prices are and the research has to be taken in context, and has to be taken in context as to the ferry operators themselves. And I think your question needs to be directed to them. Hold on. And in relation to would it bring more people? We actually promote the island as your holiday starts as soon as you step on board. So it's actually promoted as part of the travel, and it's promoted as part of how people get here. And actually going online to actually look at a ferry fare from a direct perspective can actually not be in reality the same price as if they're actually using a hotel, for example, in Sandown or Shanklin, who have trade rates and who actually give that to their customers with both ferry operators. So again, the promotional side of it all is the ferry rates are, there's a direct ferry rate, yes, but there's promotional ferry rates that most hoteliers actually have. And we promote that on our website, that you should ask your hotelier or your holiday park or your actual self-catering before.
I think that's fair, that's good business. But the point is that it's a huge amount of money generally. If you take away the ferry operator, you know, the business companies, etc., it's a huge amount of money. And what I'm saying is that our ferry, and I know it's difficult for the ferry companies, please don't think that, because I know that they've made £17.5 million loss and 15.5 million 2 years ago and 15.5 million last year in losses. Okay, so they have to recoup that. My point is that more people would travel and more people would use them if they were cheaper and more affordable. That's the point that I'm trying to make, which is not really about you. It's about tourism for the island, because we are seeing businesses close, like Robin Hill, okay, and other places. We're seeing those businesses close because the footfall is either down or they can't afford to charge what they really should be charging. So, as I say, this is a scrutiny committee. Our job is to look into what we need to do in order to get more tourists to the island, to generate business and move forward. And for me, we're being held to ransom by the ferry companies because everything revolves around them. And whilst they are providing some positive services, I also recognise that they fund Visit White, so I see where you're coming from as well. So, or at least advertise. So there are lots of things that could make this island better, including extending the season. But I think we need to come back down to basics, really. We need to make it cheaper for people to be able to come here, which then would mean that the island was busier and more people would make money generally. And sadly, there are only two ways of really getting here, and that's by ferry or overcraft. And that is the bit that needs to be dealt with, which is regulating them, particularly when people tell me that they're visiting and my competitors that it's cost them £400 for two people to visit the car for a weekend, when you can get on a Ryanair flight and go to Spain for half of that. That's what we're competing with, and that's what we need to deal with.
Councillor Love, I think you need to look at the comparable figures as to what you're looking at. I go back to the fact you've said it's going to be £250 in August. Look at that comparable figure as to where you're actually going on holiday in different locations. And if you were to, you book in advance to get the best possible deal. Hold on.
I'm not interested in what other locations are doing. We're talking about our island. Not. It sounds like you're actually defending the high prices that are being charged. That's what you're actually defending by the sounds of it.
But you're actually.
I'm not actually defending anything.
Sorry,
I think this is something that you should take up with the ferry operators and not with Visit Isle of Wight. Visit Isle of Wight are here to promote the island as best as we can, and the actual ferry is a way to get here. So if you want to actually take that, I think you should take that up with the ferry operators and not with us.
Councillor Love, you've made a very, very strong point. And interesting enough, it's at the very top of my key issues to discuss, so I'm not going to discuss it. Will, I think you've probably answered that question as well as you could possibly do at this stage, and I'm grateful for that. I'd just like to perhaps open this up to Councillor Jones-Evans, obviously, who is the Cabinet Member responsible for tourism, who is online. Unfortunately, I understand she's not able to get here for various reasons. Councillor Jones-Evans, do you have anything you'd like to add at this stage?
Oh, hello. It was really good to hear the debate, and thank you very much for Will coming in and presenting as you do each year. It really gives us a really good background into what's happened the previous season and some excellent statistics as well. We can get our our teeth into, and it's really good to have the good news that we're an LVEP now, and we're at the top table, as it were, with Visit England. That's only going to be good for the island. And thank you for all you do. And I attend board meetings on behalf of the Isle of Wight Council. The Isle of Wight Council, as you know, we don't have a budget anymore for tourism. We haven't had since 2013. I'm going to hazard a guess. So it's 10 years now. But obviously, being such an important part of our economy, I take a keen interest in it. So at 10 board meetings, and this role comes with the position of being director of Visit Isle of Wight. So being involved with key decision makers making, and also hearing directly from other board members as to what's going on the ground. So it's a very, very important board, that, and also very important that Will sits on our economic development board, again showing how important the visitor economy is. And we've been particularly working very proudly of looking at the Purple Pound, the accessible tourism offer. I think the figures that I saw at LGA recently was something we're missing out on £2 billion a month, I think, as a country, because we're not geared up for accessible tourism so much. So we really are missing out. And actually, I remember it was Will's very first conference where the Purple Pound expert came down, and we've got some really good local projects going on, as well as people that working in industry and Regen. We had a project last year where we're looking at accessible employment as well as the tourism element as well. So accessibility is really, really hyper important. And we're also very lucky to have Neil Chapman sitting on the board of Visit Isle of Wight from Have Travel, and he's a national lead on whole accessibility, especially within travel. So we're very lucky with the expertise we've got. Very lucky, I think, with the direction of travel that we've got as an island, to improve our tourism and offer our natural assets in different ways. You can see that the sea is great for sports, but it's also a great place where you can just walk alongside and recharge your batteries in a more sedate pace as well. So it's all about presenting the island and all its assets, and that's what Visit Isle of Wight do. So I wasn't sure if you had any specific questions from me, either committee members or Councillor Stewart.
No, Councillor Jones Evans,
Apologies, I can't be with you. I'm not being
that's
very well. I
fine.
don't want to
We're very
cough
grateful
everywhere.
for your input, and obviously, as it comes under your portfolio, it's very useful to know the structures around making sure that the council and obviously Visit Isle of Wight work together very, very closely.
Yeah.
Just very briefly, I will bring in Colin Rowland, who was going to make a brief comment.
Oh, I just want to say one more thing. I do apologise, Councillor Stewart. So through Regen, it was about a year ago, we funded a project with Visit Isle of Wight for the ambassador scheme, where there was a lot of training that was done through Tourism South East. I think Willa will correct me if I'm wrong, where there was free training given to anyone involved with meeting visitors. So, for instance, we had Southern Vectors come through, I know, as well as some of the bigger tourist attractions. So that was a very, very good programme. That was a direct partnership between Visit Isle of Wight and the Isle of Wight Council, because we know that it's every single touch point for a visitor is critical. So everyone can be an ambassador, so everyone can say, oh yeah, I know, oh yeah, well, it's a rainy day still, yeah, I know what you should do, you should go here or go there, or oh yeah, that bus route's there. So it was just about connecting lots of dots, and so everybody on the island is coming into contact with visitors could be that ambassador and make everyone feel very, very welcome, and they can get the most out of their visit.
I think we should all be ambassadors for the Isle of Wight. So thank you very much for that, Councillor Jones Evans. I really appreciate it. Councillor, sorry, certainly not. Colin Rowland.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's just that comment about the fares, the ferry fares. We actively talking to the ferry companies, Councillor Love. We are actively talking to DFT about the situation. It would require some form of intervention from government to actually look at a subsidy or look at the competition rules again. We are actively lobbying all the time about it because it doesn't just affect the tourism industry, it affects the whole economy, affects people's way of life on the island and their prosperity. So we are actively involved all the time with actually pushing that forward. And I think anybody could argue if the ferries were cheaper, more people would come over, but we don't influence that, Councillor Love, directly, but we are lobbying and making sure that we can get our voice heard on that.
Sorry, can I just add to that, Colin? I appreciate that. And can I just mention, basically because I put the motion forward and it was approved by last full council, that we want the ferries to be regulated for the government to consider subsidies and for public service obligations to be placed upon those ferries. That was passed unanimously by the councillor. All councillors recognise this issue. It has been an issue for quite some time. So yeah, there is no doubt that it comes within the remit of what we look at on this committee. It would probably be worth an entirely separate meeting where we would not ask Will to talk about this aspect of what is much more important, which is here today, which is the tourism industry. And can I just add, Radio 4 earlier on, as I was driving through the floods, they actually had somebody from the island who was talking about living on the Undercliff, about their sculptures, and it's that type of cultural thing which gets onto national radio quite by accident. That's your added advertising. Can't remember the exact phrase you used. Thank you. I'm not in this world. I don't understand all the acronyms. So unfortunately, we are going to be out of time very shortly. We won't be quorate, which means that we won't be able to proceed to the final item, which is the consideration of coastal path maintenance and beach access. I suspect it probably won't take that long. And so I would like to put that forward to the next agenda. So before we just wrap up today, and I do apologise, you know I'm not a great fan of short meetings. Do you have any other comments to make on the visitor economy at this stage? And can I just pass up to Colin Rowland very briefly, because he had a specific comment to make?
I do, Chair.
Sorry, Councillor Jones-Evans, I do apologise, of course, please.
Yes, it was just really picking up on your comment about culture, and that's why, you know, as an administration, as a council, we do have a controller, some control and influence over that, and that is why culture regeneration has been so important, and been working hand in hand with the Arts Council England. You know, I think the Arts Council investment into the island to date, I think is just over £7 million since 2021, since we became a priority place. And we all know the value of culture and its links with the visitor economy. So I just want to sort of put that forward. That is what's a real important element of the work that we're doing, and of course across Solent as well, within the Solent LEP or the Solent Partners is currently doing the cultural strategy for the whole Solent area. So we see ourselves as part of a region and not just a beautiful island off the south coast.
That's very helpful. So thank you very much, Councillor Jones. Colin Rowland?
It's just briefly, it's just in regard to the coastal path maintenance report, that the report as it is, we are happy to take questions offline, or we can bring it back to the next meeting if you require.
We'll take that under consideration. We have to close this meeting because we will become in core, unfortunately. Considering the floods out there, I'm surprised we would core it in the first place. So finally, I'd like to call the meeting to a halt at this stage. We are quite happy to carry on discussions informally, but the meeting is now formally closed.